a good song.
A Miley Cyrus song?
Yeah, I like that song. It'll be
to see you again. You know Miley Cyrus?
Yes. I know Miley. Come on. I'm not that old. I am that old. By the way, I paid out of my own pocket to upgrade to first class tomorrow. It was $100. I'm like, I'm doing that. I am absolutely doing that. Like,
I love that. Look at you being all bougie going to LA.
I know. Oh wait, by the way, cheers. Let's just start. Yeah, so Natty episode, no punts allowed. First class edition. Wait till you see the can that I'm working with. But yeah, so flying to LA, yes. And I get the upgrade on or the option on the app, and it's like, you gonna do this? And 5 4.5 hour, 5-hour flight. Like, I am a first class snob. I don't fly first class a lot, by the way. You know this. Like, the grind of sports reporting is not a first class life. But when you can do it, it is the most amazing flying experience possible. It really is.
So something maybe people don't know that are listening about you would be that you do have some back problems sometimes.
Yep.
So I would encourage you to fly first class whenever you can, because I know that you do have that going for you. So if you ever wanted to like justify flying first class, use that. I mean, not that you ever need to, because here on this podcast we support you being bougie. But that is absolutely hilarious. That
I'm also still haunted by my flying experience where I watched the Mets game next to a man who was wider than I, and I am wide. And it was horrifying. So you're giving me $100. Now, I'm interested because it's like a morning flight.
Okay.
We don't have any work
to do. I was just going to say, am I going to be met with a
like
bit
a
of a
drunk,
buzz? A drunk group like, Paige, from across the hotel.
Probably. Like, this is the thing. I'm already kind of scouting this out. Like, what do I do? I could start with like maybe a cup of coffee, but no, maybe a screwdriver. It's like a 10 a.m. flight. I got no work. I've got no kids. I feel like I should, I feel like I need to like let this one loose a little bit here. Like it's time.
I'm not that you need my approval, but I support this endeavor. I imagine you just like sitting in first class, listening to First Class by Jack Harlow. I know you said you know who Miley Cyrus was before we started this, but I'm just making sure. I hope you know that song.
Just the whole time, just sitting there smiling.
On repeat, and you're just like, another one, another one, another one. Yeah, I mean, you've got no responsibilities. I mean, if you're not to the hotel within an hour after your flight, I'll call you and.
Oh no, you've seen the intake, and I think planes I think the last time I flew first class, there was like not a limit, but they've kind of kept it on the rails here for drinking and for like I've never been hammered in first class.
Oh, yeah, I flew first class to Hawaii with my family this summer. And I was nice and buzzed.
Okay.
But I am on Southwest, so I can't fly first class, but let's just hope my flight, isn't canceled and gets there.
Yeah.
I was the beneficiary, I will say. So I did have a flight that was canceled by Southwest on December 28th. And I got 25,000 miles.
Oh, wow. So they're just like, they're like, we're so sorry about ruining everyone's
everything.
Holiday.
You get reimbursed, and then you also get 25,000 miles. So if you haven't seen that email and you had a flight canceled, I think it was in like Christmas Eve to January 2nd. If you had a flight canceled, you could reimburse for a bunch of stuff, and you should have gotten 25,000 miles. So definitely check that. It's a pro tip on the podcast today.
Well, I am excited. So yes, No Punts is headed to LA for the game.
Woo-hoo.
We will be doing content there. I am very excited about SoFi Stadium.
Me too.
Do you have a favorite stadium that that you visited like to watch a football game in? You've traveled now, college, NFL.
Yeah, I feel like I have to say Caesars Superdome because I've been there twice. So I was there for the college football national championship and was there for the Final Four.
Can't beat the location.
Yeah, and
Host City. Host City is wonderful. Oh,
yeah. God. Like Lucas Oil was cool because cool. I've seen like a lot of like obviously NFL games there in terms of like on TV, but I've seen a lot of like cool basketball stuff there as well. So
yeah, Lucas Oil is nice. Atlanta's, I don't know what that is.
Mercedes-Benz. That's one I really want to go to, but have not been to yet. And I feel like it would be really nice. Although I do hate that they close their Chick-fil-A on Sunday.
Yes, it is weird. It's cool because it's walkable and it's beautiful and like the whole circular scoreboard thing on it. So we will have stadium reports. We will have...
Yeah, SoFi is not, what I know of it, is not walkable to anything. You're not really going to be wanting to walk around that area. So the stadium itself is going to be the treat.
How far is that from the airport? Do you know yet? Like, do we know what situation?
I don't know. I want to say it's like 15 minutes from our hotel at least.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
But do you remember in New Orleans we got what's it called? The motorcade? Do you remember we got the police escort to the stadium?
I remember in Arizona they gave us one, and from Scottsdale to Glendale it's a ride. So we were on the highway. Far. I know. It was like I do
love that stadium.
A bunch of shithead media members getting a police escort has always been strange to me. Like, we do not need that.
Makes us feel fancy.
But it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to the game, and we can actually talk a little bit before we do. Municipal, shout out to Municipal, our friends at Municipal, who I'm seeing everywhere. I know I mentioned this in the pod before. Like, it feels like I'm going to say that we are part of this movement.
We are, totally.
Yeah, it's exclusively us, but hoping to get some face-to-face municipal action in LA, although the week's going to go by insanely fast. But we're hoping to do that. Either way, cheers to Municipal.
Cheers to Municipal. They'll be my airport outfit, probably.
Municipal.com, no punch 20.
Yes, get your goods. Oh, okay. Also on that note, hold on. I will say there were people that sent me images of, they followed us on YouTube, on Twitter, and Instagram. And I think in the Apple situation, whatever the podcast one you can follow and show that you follow, I will get you guys Municipal stuff soon. The winner of that.
Fantastic. Yeah, you got to deliver now after that.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, so let's talk semis. Let's talk New Year's Day. I have Lincoln Riley thoughts. I have semifinal thoughts. I've got Penn State thoughts. Where do you want to start? We should probably start with the semis, right?
Yeah.
First and foremost, hell yes. Finally, we've waited like a decade for that day of football. I've got, why don't we start TCU Michigan? I actually have to start with the goddamn playing surface. What the hell? The refs were falling. The kickers are slipping. Like, they're going to host the Super Bowl. Their franchise quarterback just ripped up his knee. You can't correlate that directly to the surface. But all is not well. And I couldn't actually I enjoyed the game immensely. I couldn't immerse myself fully because everywhere I looked, somebody was falling down. And I hate it. So I don't know if you were as bothered by that as I was watching that game.
It bothered me, but the fact that game was such a good game clouded my anger in any way, shape, or form. So I was a little bit the opposite. I was just in awe of what was happening and so excited that we were getting such a good game.
It was a great game. It was not the game I was expecting. Michigan, like, what an oddly paced game. Like, Michigan rips off that big run to start. It looks like it's going to be blowout.
Like, oh no.
And then they stumble and they fumble. The officials played a role in that game.
Oh, that was bad.
That was such a college football game. Like, that was college football that it hurt. Now, you had TCU to cover, right? Like, in that game? Mm-hmm. So, I did not. I had Michigan, and at no point did I feel good about that. But I thought, there was a part of me in that game, Paige, that thought, like, Michigan will come back and win this game. Like,
yeah. Oh, I thought that, like, TCU was going to run out of gas. I thought the breaks that they were getting and the defensive stops, I was like, they're going to eventually get tired. Like, this is eventually going to go the other way. And it didn't. And it was chef's kiss.
We will talk Harbaugh and we will talk TCU. Mm-hmm. But I do think Michigan, that is a huge blown opportunity. Because I think in this game, they would have had a real chance. I mean, it feels a little more wide open. So they absolutely, not good. TCU earned it. Like, I don't want to say, like, oh, Michigan gave it away. They made some mistakes, no doubt. TCU benefited. That's football. That's, like, the way it goes. Ohio State, Georgia was a chaotic mess of a football game as well.
Holy smokes, yeah.
I feel very bad for C.J. Stroud. I still feel bad for C.J. Stroud. He played so friggin' well in this game.
I know.
Like, how did they lose that game?
I was sad. Like, I know that, like, football games come down to kicks all the time, but I hated that ended that way. Like, it bothered me that it ended the way that it did because, like, one, obviously there was a questionable first down or not, timeout being called on that fake play. Like, there's just a lot of things that I felt were, and I mean, Michigan fans could probably say the same thing about some of the officiating in their game, but I just felt like, wow, Ohio State even fought back after all of that and still ended up in the situation of a missed field goal. And it was heartbreaking. It wasn't even like a kind of a miss. It was just,
oh my God.
And at the stroke of midnight,
like, yeah, that was the other thing. Like,
that was like, I mean, you couldn't have scripted it better in terms of like being a Georgia fan, but like, how horrible is that like that's how your year starts as Ohio State, an Ohio State fan. I just didn't feel like, I think a lot of people thought that Georgia was going to dominate that game because of what they saw of Ohio State from Michigan. And we both have talked about this. Like, you can't look at Ohio State basically as those last two games of the years were not the Ohio State team that we were used to seeing all year. And so we're like, don't judge them based on, you know, a bad half of football, even in the Michigan game. And people did, and I really don't think people thought it was going to be close at all. And then to have it be the way that it was and have Ohio State dominate in the way that they did in certain aspects of it, you know, it was frustrating.
Our future bets
dead, yeah,
went up in dramatic flames.
I was upset about that.
There was a part in this game where I was thinking like, wow, I can actually pick the national championship winner 2 years in a row. And also, but we talk about Michigan feeling like it blew a chance. Like Ryan Day, I mean, this one's going to hurt. And again, I'm not saying TCU isn't good, but you have a chance to go up against a team that you are much more talented than from a roster standpoint. Like, there were some bizarre plays in this game too. Also, Marvin Harrison Jr. getting hit. Was it targeting or not? I don't know. Honestly, I could definitively say that, like, he got hit really hard. We've seen worse things called targeting, I thought. What did you think? Did you have a strong take? It's a tough one for me.
I don't know. I don't know what targeting is. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what targeting is at this point because it's very difficult. I mean, even the end of the Michigan TCU game. Like, I was like, okay, we're reviewing it for targeting, and then it's not targeting. And if it was, what happens after that if it was? And I think maybe they called it not targeting because they didn't want to have to deal with the what ifs of the rest of it. So at this point, like, there are the rules. I know what I think targeting is, but I don't actually know what it is because it's just gotten so twisted. And I hate also when it's like deciding big games. Like, I think it was the Arkansas game. Yeah. And it's like, you just, at this point, it's like almost annoying that it's even called because you know they have to make the call based on like what's not going to affect the game the most, or they make the call and it affects the game majorly. It's like, I don't know at this point what targeting is, and I don't want to say either way that was or not, but there's a lot of very questionable things going forward in terms of targeting that we need to figure out.
It creates a very frustrating fan experience for sure.
Yes.
And we'll talk about Georgia, and obviously a lot of Georgia here coming up in the Natty. I do want to spread it around a little bit. I want to talk about USC. So, boy. So we're like, I had Tulane. I bet Tulane. I was very happy. Mm-hmm. I also was frankly in awe of that meltdown. And narrative won, because this is the narrative for Lincoln Riley. His teams don't play defenses, and they find ways to lose games. And you have the best college football player right now on the planet in Caleb Williams, and you blew it. What a choke. I have no other way to say it. Like, and if you're USC, right, is he going to fire his defensive coordinator? Alex Grinch, who came over from Oklahoma. You've got one more year of Caleb Williams. And it's crucial that you figure out this thing this offseason because it's not, they're recruiting well. They just got a great quarterback. He's not going to have a quarterback as good as this in his tenure at Oklahoma. I feel confident saying. So it's such a strange season for Oklahoma, for USC, because it was a great year. They somehow managed to live up to expectations, and yet it ended so poorly that we're kind of left wondering, what the hell? Where do we go from here?
I think for Lincoln Riley, winning that game would have justified not firing somebody he brought over from Oklahoma, obviously Grinch, like you mentioned. Now he has no choice, and he needs to make that choice because he cannot waste another year of Caleb Williams with a defense that's not going to be able to stand up and make it to the playoff, if not win a national championship. You can't do that. It will make me question him as a leader if he does not make that call. I understand that this is somebody you brought over. I understand it's somebody you have a close relationship with. But in order to take the next step, you're going to need to do something. And so unless you come up with another creative way to figure this out defensively, it's has to happen, or you're just your legacy is going to continue down this path of this narrative. And I know he doesn't give a flying what about narrative, but you want to win championships. So like sticking just to that, like you have to do something. You can't go another year of this and go, oh, okay, now we do it. Like you only get players like Caleb for so long. Like figure it out.
You got 1 year. So it's funny. I started working on my preseason way too early top 25 for 2023. And we could talk about this in the coming weeks, but USC is a really tough one for me to figure out because I have Washington ranked higher, I have Oregon ranked higher, and I'm thinking about Utah ranked higher than USC, right? And I'm curious, like I'm after that because you do have the best football player in the country, but you're losing a lot offensively and defensively. You've got help coming, but it feels like it's going to be the Caleb Williams show again. And it feels like it's going to be a fucking Oklahoma team. It feels like it's going to be like Kyler Murray running around like crazy and Baker Mayfield. Like it's not, it doesn't like generate a lot of confidence in a really weird way.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley needs to get in the transfer portal for defense. Like you know how to work the system, work it to your favor, and get your defense in a situation that they can succeed. Certainly there's been moments and flashes where they've done their job, but it's not enough. That complete meltdown, and let's not just put it all on the defense coaching wise. There's
no.
That certainly can be cleaned up, but I think that you have no choice but to do something. And like even looking at it now, it's like almost, is it too late? You also have another year before you're going to a conference that you're going to need some defense, or you're not going to be able to outscore them and win, besides Iowa, of course. But it's sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you over all the Cade McNamara
hype. Yeah. No, but like you have to figure it out. This is the year to legitimately make drastic changes and figure it out, because it's going to only get harder from here.
I'm sorry, are you talking about Iowa that shut out the Kentucky Wildcats in their bowl game? That
was amazing. The defensive touchdowns, absolutely amazing. That was the perfect Iowa football game.
The fact that was played the same day as the semis was like, is this the same sport? It really didn't feel like it. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about on New Year's Day, other than Iowa, is Penn State. Because we're going to talk a lot of Penn State, I think you and I, over the next couple of months and months ahead. Two things about this game stood out. Well, three things. A, it's a real bummer that Cam Rising got hurt. God, he's fun to watch. B, I don't know if I said 1, 2, or A, B. Letters or numbers, whatever that.
You sound like Buzz from Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly.
One.
The Sean Clifford moment was
poetic.
Super cool. This is a guy that's had such a mixed relationship with the program and its fans.
Yeah.
But you rarely get like this walk-off, tear-driven. I mean, it was poetic's a great word for it, and I think that was really neat. And then the last thing, AC3 last, was Penn State is going to be that team. Off-season champion teams, Penn State, Florida State, and Washington. But you look at some of the freshmen that Penn State has. They have a great quarterback. They have a couple of fucking fantastic running backs. They have some good defensive players. Like, I'm kind of feeling it for Penn State. I'm kind of buying it. So I don't know if any of those things were interesting to you. The Clifford thing was the coolest one. That was like a really neat moment.
Yeah, and I told you guys to make that bet because I told you stepdad's birthday, Penn State fan's 60th birthday, and it worked out. That was his birthday present. Cashed out. So that was the positive. But yeah, I'm excited about that program for sure.
Yeah, program. So all right, so we're gonna like kind of rip through. We always say we're gonna have a fast pod, but we have to pack. We have to get ready to be hungover on a plane or after a plane ride. All those things. So we have topics that we want to talk about. Then we're gonna talk about the Natty.
Yes.
But Ryan Day not calling plays potentially. I have mixed feelings about this. Mm-hmm. What do you? I think it's smart for him to do this because he's saying that, and he's kind of. There's failing spectacularly in these huge moments. So I like the fact that he's looking at this to do it. But it's also something he's really good at. So where are you on this discussion?
I have mixed feelings. This isn't like with Jimbo where I'm like, oh, thank God he's going to allow somebody else to call plays. You know, it concerns me a little bit that like the outside pressure is a little bit seeping in internally, and it's becoming like, okay, I have to do something, otherwise they're going to be really mad and not lay off my back, and it's going to be difficult. I think it's okay. I will see like the decision he actually makes and what specifically this is more about, but I didn't like the phrase that I think it was Herb Street that was reporting this, and he was saying like he'll take more of like a managerial approach. Yes. And because there's so much stuff that head coaches do. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But also, like, I don't think a knock on Ryan Day is that he can't manage all of that stuff. I think that's something that is required of a really good overall coach, is to be able to do the play calling and that. And to also, like, there are certain coaches that certainly have delegated other things. But I think it's a strange strategy for Ryan Day to think that he's going to allow somebody else to have a lot of say, but I understand making the call in the sense of something does have to change because they're in a situation where they need to be winning these games.
Yes, I think it's all good points. I think he's one of the best play callers on the planet. I think he's made some dumb decisions like punting it against Michigan and he's actually, they got some really bad breaks too. Like they just not.
Oh, like the call that he made, that was a great call to fake punt. And then it just gets negated. That's
his best wide receiver getting knocked out of this game. Like there's some legitimate things. I also think he'd be a great NFL coach because your support and your people around, you can go hire like Wade Phillips to like go manage your defense. And you could be in the office and have all these support things. But I think he's really good at calling plays. And you wonder, I think he's trying to address a problem, and I can't get on him for that because clearly they're like this short. They're like an inch short of being champions. So you have to look at it. But
field goal kick.
It's also like what makes you great is his play calling. They're a machine. So I'm curious to see, but I appreciate the self-reflection. Right? Like that's what
I appreciate that he's willing to do it. I think a lot of coaches are very stubborn and let it get like bad. In this circumstance, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about this, like managing the expectation of how bad it is for Ohio State right now. It's not in like dire like disarray here like Texas A&M is. It's definitely a different situation.
I feel bad for him.
Me too.
They played a great game. I do. I feel bad because I think he's a really good coach. And like football could be cruel. And I thought he coached a great game. I thought his players played like all of this stuff. And you looked at like the shock of Georgia and like not knowing what happened. And he could have been there if a kicker didn't hit one of my tee shots for a field goal attempt. Oh my God.
I knew he was going to miss it too. When they didn't let him get a kickoff beforehand and they called the timeout before.
It was so bad.
I was like, nope, that's it. That's it. It's not going in because he didn't get a practice shot and didn't see it go through. He is not.
His play calling is great, but giving your kicker a 50-yarder, also not a great strategy, by the way. So, but yes, I think it's a good idea, but I'm interested to see how it works out. Now let's talk his rival. The man who once said Ryan Day was born on, third base, right? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
Great line. Mr. Jim Harbaugh released a statement that... do you collect... My kids love Pokemon cards.
I used to collect Pokemon.
Okay, so is there any reason why this graphic from Michigan looks like a Pokemon card? Have you seen the tweet?
Yeah, because remember when you said, "Oh, did you see it?" I think I have it pulled up.
All right, so literally as we're coming on to talk about this, Jim Harbaugh releases a statement, and I'm going to just read a part of it because a lot of it's just a big word salad. But it's a Pokemon graphic, and it says, "I am aware of the rumors and speculation over the past few days. College and NFL teams have great interest in all of our personnel, from players to coaches to staff, and I truly believe that is a testament to the strength of the university, blah, 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 blah. As I stated in December, while no one knows what the future holds, I expect that I'll be enthusiastically coaching Michigan in 2023. I've spoken to these people, blah, 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 blah." He gone, okay? He gone. Like, it's happening. Did you not?
No one knows what the future holds. Like I said to you for this, actually, you do know what the future holds when you can say, I'm not actually entertaining any of these, so then you would know what the future holds. So if he's entertaining these conversations, which it sounds like he is, I won't believe it until it actually happens, because we've been having this conversation for God knows how long. But also, wouldn't it be like, I mean, no offense to Michigan fans, but like, wouldn't it be kind of funny? Because they gave him so much shit for so long, and I'm sure they're not thrilled about the loss in the playoff situation, but they're happy to be there, I think, in some aspect, and think that the next step is just right there.
Oh yeah, it's a really good roster. So for him
to dip before it actually happens would be like kind of funny, and like revenge of like the first 7 years of just like absolute hate on this situation.
Really good roster. Yeah, it would be poetic. It's the word to use too. Again,
poetic.
I think but to also at some point, because I remember last year he flirted with the Vikings. They didn't hire him, and this is a matter of time. And if you're a Michigan fan at this point, you're probably like, just get it over with, because you don't want to do this shit every offseason. He's going to win 10 or 11 games again next year. Yeah. You're going to do this. And if you're an NFL team, by the way, what candidate out there, other than Sean Payton, is a better candidate than Jim Harbaugh? Like,
yeah.
Like, what candidate? Like, I feel like hiring coaches is really hard. You know how I feel about Harbaugh. I think he's a great coach. And it's cool that he's revived his career. Also, the money for NFL coaches, I did not know we were getting, like, goofy. I think Sean Payton, or McVay makes like, I don't know, $16 million a year to coach. I didn't know we were there with NFL coaches. I've been out of the loop a little bit. So they're talking about giving Harbaugh then probably $15 million a year, something along those lines, maybe even more. Yeah. That's a double his Michigan salary or something close to it. Yeah. He'll obviously get another new deal out of Michigan for this.
Yeah, it's also like in terms of spending money, like it's a smart spend. Like Jim Harbaugh is not somebody who isn't proven in the NFL and is just a coach that you think can make the transition over, sort of like the Panthers had before. So, I mean, it's a smart way to spend money. I wouldn't be mad if Harbaugh was the, coach of my NFL team, but I'm good for now. He was, so I'm all right. But
you are okay.
I'm okay, but I also have done Harbaugh as the coach of my team, so I'm good. I'm good for now. But I mean, in terms of like, if I was a Panthers fan, I wouldn't be mad at that situation. But it'd be a strange. I feel like it would be very strange for him to leave Michigan, though, after everything he's word salad, like you said, and said about this program and everything that they're doing, and how big of a pain in the butt he can be. Yeah, it wasn't. I'm not particularly a fan. Also, I would just like to say, shout out to Molly McGrath for being incredibly professional when Jim Harbaugh was not and continues to not be on the field. To reporters, even like Jenny Taft or whoever's doing their job, and trying to ask him a question before the game. Molly asked him a question before the game, and he said, we'll have to, that's something that I'd have to answer after the game. Well, too bad you didn't win the game and you couldn't answer it after the game, Jim.
Ooh, he is just a certified weirdo. Like, it's not an act. I don't even think he means it to be a dick.
I don't know.
I think I've interviewed him. He is just a fucking weird guy. He might be a dick, but in some of those interviews, it's like the hamster wheel. I'm like, oh yeah, that hamster wheel's working for him to try to do an answer. Like, I just think it's, and the players like him, by the way, like, which is, it's always interesting. Like, players seem to genuinely like him, but
no, I think after a while though, I would hope that someone would point it out to you that it's rude and disrespectful, and he continues to do it to those trying to do their job. And I don't think he would be okay with somebody treating him that way while he was trying to do his job. So that's all I'm saying is I just think maybe some self-awareness.
He's it's not even an excuse. I just think his social thermometer is fucking broken as hell.
I do want to say, did you see how Twitter was responding to the fact that like the media person put their hand like in front of Harbaugh and he didn't really like react? He just said, okay, like not to run out of the tunnel. And people lost it about Sark. And like, it wasn't even relevant. And people were like, that video, by the way, was not good. We didn't talk about that on this podcast because I didn't really see it until later. And it was like too late to talk about it at that point. Buddy.
Has he released a statement or anything?
I don't think so.
I mean, that's
that was
yikes.
Bad. Okay, if you haven't seen this video, basically there was a media person who worked for the broadcast network that was telling them to hold on, and they were coming out of the tunnel, and he touched his chest, and there was like a delay where like he thought about it for a second. And then Sark just like lost it and was like, don't ever touch me again, motherfucker. Like, it was wild. Don't put your hands on me again. Like, it was scary. And the guy was like, what? It wasn't like he like shoved him. He literally stuck his hand out. And Sark like lost it on this guy. And I mean, it was weird because he like paused before he reacted.
Yeah, and the rage on his face was real. Like, I mean, that is... Look, okay, people can be weird about being touched, but if a guy put his hand on me, like, first off, I'm surprised a guy like that is so, like, he should be so immersed, and that's probably the delay, because he's probably thinking about it. But
yeah, he was like, that guy just touched me.
That guy, look, Sark has obviously been through some shit. And of course, people are equating this to that. But it's a response of rawness that you don't often see, that you can't help but have takeaways to, this is how this person is constructed behind the scenes. Because Sark in interviews is very collective, is very insightful. I like him. I'm happy he's got a second chance. I saw that though, and that's a reputation ruiner for some people. Like, that is crazy that you would ever talk to a stranger like that, whether they're touching you or not. Like, holy shit.
Like, and to not have the awareness that, like, you're clearly going to be on camera. Like, he has that awareness. And look, I'm not saying people have to be perfect, but, like, you shouldn't treat anyone like that, period, cameras around or not. But, like, the fact that there was no awareness that, like, that for certain that behavior was going to be seen by someone, especially your players.
But it's like one thing if you say, hey, man, can you not touch me?
Yeah, like, don't touch me again, like, back off.
Hey, man, come on, man. Like,
I even get, like, being like, hey, don't touch me again, and being, like, serious about it. He was, like, up in this guy's face. Like, he looked like a dog, just, like, like, it was so scary. I watched the video, and I was like, what in the world?
I know. It was, like, and then they lost to Washington, and I bet them, and it was bad. Okay, speaking of coaches with some baggage.
Oh, gosh.
Bobby Petrino, back in the saddle at Texas A&M, was at UNLV for a month, maybe? Mm-hmm. Was it a month? And then is now going to be in charge with fixing Jimbo's offense. Okay, I'm going to have a football take. Jimbo is doing the thing I told him to do.
Yes.
And we've told him to do.
We absolutely think this is a move that needed to be made.
Jimbo is doing the thing to help justify paying him $80 million moving forward. However, it blows my mind that you can't find somebody who doesn't have this level of baggage to do it. Like, I can't believe we're here. And yet, Paige, you know what? It's probably going to work out. Like, Nick Saban was probably like, shit, okay. Like, the guy knows offense. The guy knows football.
Yeah. I mean, am I surprised? No, because DJ Durkin is the defensive coordinator, so I'm not surprised.
That is a staff right there. That is a staff.
Let me just say, morally, this staff, not great. Look, I don't believe in, condemning people, but...
Petrino? Okay. I
DJ Durkin is far worse than yes. I totally know where you're going with that. Absolutely. What happened with DJ Durkin is far worse. Absolutely. It's not a personal thing that was like a football related situation. The other part of it was just being, irresponsible and gross.
But how fucking funny is it that Petrino leaves his team after 3 weeks? And this is not, by the way, that's not unheard of in college football. We've seen that. No. You see it like a couple of times a year, guys do that. But everything about this is just so scummy. And yet it could save A&M. It could save Jimbo.
So here's the thing. I hope it doesn't. And I say that only because I want there to be some moral standard in college football with college football coaching. I want us to get to some point where you being good at coaching football doesn't outweigh being a good person.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino, in the level of scandals, you're right. Like you said it. This is not. There's a lot of worse things out there. He's a prick, and clearly, the whole motorcycle, it was hugely embarrassing.
We've had this discussion with Hugh Freeze too.
Yes, it's different, but it's still kind of gross that we circle back to this, that we go to this.
That we circle back to the same guys.
And yet Jimbo is doing it. He's doing what he needs to not have to take some sort of really abbreviated buyout on his contract.
College football head coaches are like the girls who don't know their worth and continue going back to the bad guy that doesn't treat her right.
Yes.
Instead of making the effort. It's so bad. No, it's just frustrating.
This is how the sausage is made to win championships.
Yep.
It's very bad. So Bobby Petrino is back. What sausages, this is an awkward transition, but sausages that will not be made outside of SoFi Stadium at a tailgate. Okay, no tailgating at the national championship. I haven't read about this other than I saw it on Twitter and people were freaking out. Mm-hmm. What is the reason? Did they say?
I don't think they have one. I don't think they gave a reason. I think it's mostly, I've heard that the parking situation outside that stadium is not great. I mean, tailgating really means just setting up tables, food, all of that stuff. Doesn't stop you from drinking around your car necessarily, Well,
that's what
I feel there's probably going to be people monitoring to make sure that there's not people sitting up there for hours and drinking, but I don't know how strict this is going to be. I imagine there's some form of security, but I also I tweeted this as if people from Texas and Georgia didn't hate the state of California enough. So if I had to be you know what, we're going to make it worse and make them just even more angry with us and say that we won't allow tailgating. I'm great, really? You had to do that? And also it's college football. That's part of it. I know, I don't think they let it happen at the Super Bowl, but this is college football. Tailgating is what it's all about. Why are they being the fun police? Can someone give us an answer?
I don't understand. That's the point I was getting. I don't understand it. It feels like this is not what we like about college football. We like tailgating. We like the pageantry. We like the parade. We like all the build
drunk
up to
fans.
This. We like the drunk fans. No, but we've been to games. Unless they're barking at you in a steakhouse.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Are you emotionally prepared for that? Because
I honestly still haven't recovered from last year. I have not recovered from that moment, and I wish that like I could let it go. See, here's the thing: it's like I understand being excited that your football team won. Like I totally support the fact that like Georgia's had to listen to Alabama all these years and gets really excited, but like. Don't bark at someone who's literally dressed in like neutral colors and I'm not a fan of either team that you know of. Like you don't know me personally. You have no idea. Why are you barking at a woman who's by herself going into a hotel? Like that's creepy and gross. Get it together. So we don't love drunk fans, but we love that they get the opportunity to get drunk and root for their team. Just don't be gross.
Just get ready for the barking is going to be...
The barking all game. Actually, last year before this even happened, I was in the press box and I remember just being like, Kramer, I can't do the barking. I can't do the barking. And also, hopefully, we are not sitting next to Georgia.
I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about those fucking guys that we sat next to. Those two little, like, GoDogs.com media guys.
Shout out to Go Dogs, but like all the respect in the world. But like, could you stop cheering and being more like you're in a press box?
No, we are going to sit right next to them. In fact, they're going to be like those. For some context, for anyone that's listened to the show for like a prolonged period of time, you know what we're talking about. At the national championship last year, Paige and I sat next to. And look, I'm not the uptight media.
No,
we don't give a fuck.
We don't care.
Cheer, I don't care. Smoke a cigar, whatever. But you had these two Georgia fans who were in the press box who were outright cheering, calling plays, just having an open dialogue. It seemed like
just
they
like
have
out loud. And here's the thing: the press box is pretty quiet, so like you can have a conversation with someone next to you, but they were speaking so loud that it was like everyone could hear them.
Also, remember that guy next to me, the breathing. He was breathing like he sounded like he was
And also,
dying.
this last year we were still all worried about COVID. Not that we're not now, but it's still like it was very different. I do want to say though, I know Georgia fans. I will say like I worked with Eric Bowman, who Bleacher Report, and like great Georgia fan, super nice individual. So I'm not saying that one fan or two fans were a reflection of all Georgia fans. Oh Jesus! But I will say, just maybe chill on barking at strangers.
You're walking back the Georgia hate because you know what you're walking into. A Georgia Bulldog hurricane.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just realized this now. Earlier I was like, I was wearing neutral colors. My outfit for the national championship is red.
I have actually thought about this. My wife is calling me. I usually turn my phone off.
You should answer it.
No, it'd be a bad idea. It's gonna be my kids asking me if I got them gifts or something. Okay. My family, by the way, is staying downtown tonight. So I'm going solo this evening, heading into a work trip. Very strange. Very strange dynamic.
So you're going to show up to the airport a little buzzed.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That's a good... Yeah. Oh, yeah. The packing.
Packing is going to be interesting. Kramer's like, Paige, I'm like, where are you, Kramer? He's like, I had to go to the mall because I forgot a shirt to wear to the title game.
I love that. The hangover, like, we fucked up. That's going to be me. Yeah, so I'm childless. Hopefully, if they call again, I will answer. But if not, everything's fine. I'm pumped. Like we have to talk about this game.
Yes.
Last thing too, before we do talk about this game, Sam Hartman officially to Notre Dame.
We will get him on this podcast. He's the no punts allowed quarterback that he is.
He really is.
And now that he's going to Notre Dame, we are getting him on this podcast. One way or another, Sam Hartman will be on this podcast in the next year. It's happening. I'm putting it out there. We're manifesting for 2023.
I can't get over his beard, how awesome it is.
You can ask him. You can ask him if he uses oils, all the things.
No, it's
that sounded weird, but...
it's fine. Perfectly reasonable for media members. We're criticizing the Georgia guys. And now we're asking him.
And we're like, we can't wait to ask him about his beard.
Do you use oils? All right, so we are going to be in Los Angeles. There will be food, there will be drinks.
We're placing our bets before we get there.
Well, specifically, some of us don't have to do that, but yes, there will be. But let's talk about the line. Let's talk about the game itself. So this has been through the ringer a little bit. So the point spread now, and by the way, check out this amazing, good beer too. This is Around the Bend, Skull with a mustache on it. I can't remember if I've been villainous. Very good. So perfect for title game preview.
Yes.
The number in this game now is 12.5. The total is 62.5. So point spread opened around 13.5, got down to 12. Actually, earlier today, I think it was down to 11.5. The total in this game is 62.5. So we will get to picks. You and I are going to be doing like BR live streams. We're trying to coordinate all this shit.
We're trying to coordinate actually having a live reaction for you guys after the game, which I think would be really fun.
Yes, with beers.
We do have to do a live stream the next day, though, so we can't be.
Oh, God, I have to
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
In any event, so what do you think of this game?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I think TCU is going to cover. I thought
you were going to say win.
They're not done yet. We ain't done yet. I'm going to tell you this right now. I am going to sprinkle on money line. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's right no value in taking the over in this game. Although it will go over. But there's no value in it. I think TCU covers. I think 12.5 is a lot for a national championship. Although I know what happened to Alabama.
Plus 350. Not bad.
For TCU money line?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm absolutely sprinkling on it. I did not think that TCU was going to be able to hold up against Michigan. And I get that Michigan is not Georgia. I totally understand that, you guys. But I also just think there's like a secret sauce, and I think maybe TCU might have enough. Especially to cover.
All right. I think Kirby Smart is going to go back to his roots. And I think Georgia is going to go back to good old-fashioned Nick Saban murder ball. Michigan could not. Georgia can. They average over.
You think Georgia's capable of that after watching what you watched?
Yeah, I do. Well, they couldn't run the ball because they fell behind. So I did some stat diving. I hate obsessing over recruiting. Over the past 5 years, Georgia has landed 25 5-star recruits. TCU has landed 1 in that time, and it was Zach Evans. Now, I'm not saying recruiting wins national championships. We could have done this similar game with Michigan, right? And it would have been valid.
Go ahead. Finish your point. I was gonna ask, did you look into transfers though? Because that's where I say I think TCU might get to pad the stats a little bit more.
Oh no, TCU, and like they have the Thorpe Award winner, they have the best wide receiver in college football, or one of the best draft eligible one. I think that would go to Mr. Marvin Jr. Just saying, they've got a great running back who, by the way, might not play in Keandre Miller, which I think is a big story in this. And they have Duggan, who's a fucking stud. So, TCU, you and I have talked about this. We may write about it, we may not. There is a blueprint here, what TCU is doing, that is really awesome and really hard to duplicate. When I remember when Michigan State made the playoff, they had Connor Cook and Shalik Calhoun. They had some really awesome players. And then they got waxed in the semis by Alabama. It was one of the worst games I've ever been to. And it's usually you don't make it this far. So TCU has done this. And if they win, by the way, this will be one of the greatest stories in the history of sports. I am not even saying that to be hyperbole. This shit does not happen. No. Unranked AP poll to begin the year to a national champion in college football with where the game is now is unfucking heard of. It would be amazing. I truly. I think it's going to catch up to them. I think that ultimately murder ball Georgia is going to come out and play in this game.
The part that is getting me and holding me back from going, because look, I don't want to overthink this, and and not look at Georgia like I did last year, where I was like, there's no way they beat Alabama in this game. They're not going to do it. I don't think they do it. And in this situation, like, having watched TCU all year, like, and I said this during the Michigan game, like, this is every single game that TCU has been in all year. TCU is used to this pressure, used to this chaos, used to all of the things stacking against them, and outside of the Big 12 championship game, coming out on the other end of that. And I think for Georgia, I think the Ohio State game was best case scenario for Georgia to prepare for TCU because they were challenged in a way that they hadn't been all year. Now, if they had just gone in and waxed Ohio State, I think this would be a very different story going in. So I am hesitant to put so much emphasis on how well TCU has managed all year and the fact that Georgia really hadn't had any pressure. But I will say, like, yes, in terms of coaching too, I think Kirby obviously making that timeout like call was like one of the best displays of somebody who genuinely, you know, there's been criticisms in the past of can the coaching keep up with the recruiting and all the other stuff. And that was certainly a moment to show, okay, yes, Kirby is there and he's in the same conversation as Nick in terms of quality of coach, not in terms of wins and all that stuff, guys, but in terms of, okay, quality coach, national championship coach, and can continue to do it. But I also, like, I have immense faith in Sonny Dykes as well. So, like, sure. It's hard for me to really, after seeing what I saw against Michigan with TCU and knowing what I know about Georgia and knowing, even statistically looking at, you know, Stetson Bennett and throwing down the field, like, they were forced into that situation. And yes, they had a tight end that could figure it out and definitely help them. And their wide receiver stepped up in ways that they haven't all year. But can they replicate that, and can that continue to move forward in the national championship game?
Yeah, Bennett had such a bizarre game. 398 yards passing, scored 4 touchdowns, had 20 minutes where it looked like he forgot how to play football.
Yeah, well, because he hasn't been forced to throw longer than 20 yards all year. I think there was a stat before the semifinals that only 12% of Georgia's passes were more than 20 yards. That was just attempted.
Oh, but it's interesting too. And so much, the point you bring up is pretty interesting because his big pass plays, some of those were like broken plays. Yeah. Mitchell coming back where guys are just standing open. So much of this game is going to be risk assessment. And what I mean by that is if Georgia can't get a pass rush with its front, it's going to have to bring blitzers and it's going to expose a secondary. That's not that good. You're not going to fix Georgia's secondary. You're going to fix it by getting a pass rush. But if you don't, and Michigan tried this, it can fucking kill you. Quentin Johnson got the ball like 4 yards from the line of scrimmage and ran a bazillion yards. The same thing, though, I think can be said about TCU. They sold out to make some plays behind the line of scrimmage against Michigan, and it really worked well. And Michigan got off kilter and couldn't make plays. I'm curious about the aggressiveness in this game. And you know what I mean? Like,
well, because ultimately, really like, if you can get pressure on Stetson Bennett, like, don't get me wrong. They have guys that can bail. I mean, they have big dudes that can bail him out in terms of if he gets it in the right area, they'll figure out a way to catch it. But if I'm looking at Max Duggan and I'm looking at Stetson Bennett and I'm going, which one of them do I trust in those sort of breakdown situations? I would go with Duggan. So that's why, like, in that situation, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I really don't. And you can tell me I told you so and all that, but I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it after watching Georgia even play under pressure. There's positives for sure, but definitely interesting.
Georgia is not the immaculate team that it was last year.
Yes, that exactly. Georgia, like, I think, yes.
But Georgia also, like, there was some weird shit. Jalen Carter did not play a ton in that game. Like, there was some weird Georgia things. Brock Bowers didn't get involved until the second half. And then, like, I expect that's going to change. I think they're going to run the ball with him. That dude, by the way, when he runs, it's like, that is, I've never really seen anything like it with the tight end. Like, it's, so I'm excited because schematically it's a really fun game. Like, there's some really fun shit. And Duggan extending plays is going to be huge. And Bennett making plays. There's a lot. There's a lot of elements to unpack here. Yeah,
if you're like a football junkie and like an X's and O's junkie, this matchup is very intriguing. Really cool. Because you're going to see maybe sometimes game plan is like stick to what is working well. I think this game plan is going to be like do what goes well until it doesn't, and then shift. Because, and I know it sounds silly in general because obviously you make that shift, but I think sometimes like people stick to what they know. I think it took Michigan a little too long to adjust to not getting the run. Like you and like you have to make that adjustment. And I'm curious to see these two coaches can do that and have the ability to do that and have the team to be able to do that. But it's like, at what point do you make that adjustment and who's going to be forced to do it first?
So you like TCU to cover, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I like Georgia to cover. I don't love Georgia to cover. I like Georgia to cover. I like the under. You like the over.
I think the over's an cash money.
So here we are. I think we did this in last year's title game too. I think we've done it like the last 3 years. Not on purpose. It's just the way it works out.
But I don't think the value's there on the over, so I don't know that I would put money on it because it's just not. Everyone's taking the over. I think over 90% of the bets are on the over.
Yeah. Because
look at the semis. I mean, whew.
Well, that's it. People are going to be like, that's the kind of game. It's funny. If you like TCU, I think you like the over. If you like Georgia, I think you like the under. People are going to go down the route of like, oh, murder ball possession. Like 62.5 points is a shit ton of points, by the way. Like it is a lot. So
I hope it's the over. I hope we see a game where they're just back and forth.
Beyond the betting, I'd love a wonderful football game. Like,
yes, I want it to be close. I think that's why I'm also pushing for TCU to cover, is because I'm like, I want it to be close.
Yeah, no, me too. So, all right, so we are heading out. Any final thoughts here? We got shit we got to do.
No, I will say I'm
pumped.
I'm very happy that DeMar Hamlin is showing positive signs.
Goddamn.
That is something I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about just a little bit, in the sense, like, I know that we spend most of our time joking around, but you and I in particular have conversations often about just like the respect level that we have for players, coaches, personnel. And I think that situation where like somebody's fighting for their life on the field, you don't think it's ever going to happen, and then it does, and it's like very jarring. And it was like weird for me to think about like watching football again. Like the next snap of football I watch is going to be very jarring, in the sense that just like you don't know when that can happen, and the likelihood of that happening is so slim. But when it does, it really does shake you and remind you that like these people are people first and foremost. They're human beings, and you would never want anyone to lose their life. And, you know, we love to have fun and joke, but I seriously reevaluated a lot of things, because also like we criticize a lot of these players and a lot of the time, and it's like it's crazy to think that sometimes we forget that they are human beings. And so like if I took anything away from it, it was, and a lot of people I noticed in media talking about this and having this conversation is like, yeah, we get paid to criticize these people, but first and foremost, they are human beings. And I think it will definitely give me pause when criticizing players and athletes, because they are risking a lot in this sport to, you know, entertain us essentially. So I'm just glad that he's okay, and I hope we never have to see anything like that again.
Yeah, that was haunting. Watching that live was haunting. Seeing the expressions from the players, Josh Allen, I don't know why. Yeah. Like just seeing that was like, I could not sleep like everybody else. I thought that collectively, I know the NFL got ripped a little bit of not canceling the game quickly enough, and the resolution as we're talking is still being discussed. I actually thought collectively everyone did an amazing job. The whole 5-minute thing was really strange. Who knows? Yeah,
because the NFL said that they didn't actually say that.
And I was pissed off about that in the moment, and even thinking about it now, I thought just the way Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark, the NFL, the fans, the medical people, that's incredible, like to do something like that. I think a horrible, horrible situation was handled immaculately when you consider the stakes and what was going on. And I do think it's going to change. Like you're going to have access to defibrillators in more places. You're going to, like, I think this is going to change things for the better at different levels of football. And I'm speechless. The stuff we're hearing today out of like from the hospital people is frankly shockingly great. and you hope it continues. Him asking if they won the game. Can you imagine waking up to this and people donating to his toy drive? Like all this information and all of the support that has gone on in the last couple of days. The things we're hearing, and you just hope it continues. You couldn't ask for like better information than the stuff that we've been told today.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it is, but you reflect on the sport and what people do and life as a whole, frankly. You could go beyond just football and look at this a little bit grander in life and just say like, I got to look at things a little bit differently than maybe how I'm looking at them now. So it is pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable. And I think too, the other part of this is just like, if you are a football player and this is what you do for a living, you see that situation, whether you were there, that has to be traumatizing for one. But the other part of this is seeing it and going, this could have been me. This could have absolutely happened to me. So I think, the mental well-being of some of these players is super important. And I'm glad that that's a conversation that's being had, because I think that's also something I know for T. Higgins, like Hamlin's dad was like, please, like make sure that he knows that, he's okay. And I know I saw that his dad talked to the Bills team today, and somebody said like they needed that. And I can't imagine what it would be like to watch anyone go through this and then have the evaluation that could have been me, or it's all very heavy and a lot. And I'm sorry that we ended the show this way, but I did want to talk about it because it was outside of like sports. It was the largest story in, the country for Monday night and Tuesday, because it was, and still continues to be, because it was bigger than sports in that moment for sure. It
was huge. And thank God we are hearing what we're hearing. Like,
absolutely. And also for everyone who's listening to this, like, please learn CPR. Like, I know that sounds really ridiculous and I'm like saying that to you, but like I watched a 6-minute video today on CNN's Instagram of like how to properly do CPR and how to actually like use a defibrillator. They show you in it. The defibrillator tells you how to do it. So definitely like watch those things, learn those things, because in a panic, like your brain sometimes can forget things. Like be repetitive with it and know those things, because most cardiac arrest situations happen not in a hospital. So especially if you're around sports, it's definitely a good thing to know.
What an amazing response by people that clearly knew what they were doing and had the confidence to do it. I agree with you. No, I'm glad you brought it up. Actually, you know what? It's no longer really serious or downer. It's like it's important and it's important,
and it's
to watch a football game live, which I haven't done all year. Strangely, like I don't know. I feel like we needed something like this, and now doesn't mean it's completely safe. It doesn't mean this won't happen again, but you do hope the responses will be excellent as they were and continue to be. And I don't know. It's just an amazing week. It was a truly haunting scene. And where we are now versus where we were then, I mean, it's like a 180.
Yeah, so, and it's, I mean, I think it'll make us all appreciate sort of what we do get to watch on a regular basis, that we don't even think about the fact that there's that huge risk. But I'm excited to get to LA and watch a live football game and have some fun.
Beers on the plane.
All right, guys. Yes, we will talk to you hopefully right after the national championship.
Cheers.